Hi everyone, welcome to the LIBERcast for 43rd episode of the LIBERcast, and I have the joy of having Nate Kap for a discovery and overview of natural law, and I'm really excited about it because it hasn't been covered that much on the podcast. So I'm gonna just do something. I forgot. Give me 2 seconds.
I really like your intro music, by the way.
Yeah, Maxime Lien made them. Is one of my good friend,
It's
and he did a great job. I fucking
it's
like it.
way cooler. Well, I really like it a lot, but it's really like I like hearing the whole thing in the headphones.
So I want to acknowledge Caroline Riley Shadow Work Community webpage. It's about shadow working, and it's for everyone. She's offering a course on shadow working. If you're a uninitiated, you don't know about it, you're just curious, or you're initiated, or you're a neophyte in shadow working, I suggest you could go there and go take a look at what she has to offer. Actually, Shadow Work Community is as a page on Facebook, and I suggest everyone to go there. It's awesome page if you want to get great insights. Caroline Riley is incredible. So thank you, Caroline, for your this work. So before I'm starting, I'm having tomorrow a special podcast. I'm actually redoing the interview with Paul about gang stalking. He's a victim of gang stalking from government, and I'm gonna have is a redoing of the interview tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST. So tune up; it's gonna be awesome. Uh, the initial interview was fascinating and troubling at the same time because what it means to be gang stalked. So be there tomorrow, and I want to, as usual, thank everybody who's partaking into the LIBERcast. Um, every supporters, every guest on the show, the people who are partaking into the table discussion. Thank you guys. You're fucking awesome. I like you so much. Um, you're making you're making the LIBERcast a success. You are the lights of the LIBERcast. You are the pillars of it. So thank you guys. So welcome Nate to the LIBERcast. Thank you for being there, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
So just
every
before we
okay,
go on.
Oh, I was just going to say I really love what you're doing with this show. It's been very inspiring, and I just wanted to say that publicly because I think this show has been something that I've paid a lot of attention to, and I think you've had really high caliber guests on so far, and it's been quite a endeavor of great knowledge. So appreciate it, man.
So, Nate, uh, please quickly talk about your work and how did you get to there, and your website and your podcast. I know you have two podcasts, so you can plug them at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah, my name's Nate Kap, and um, I have a podcast called Cubbyhole, which can be found at cubbyhole.com. And it is a stepwise progression podcast that I put together with Brandon and Douglas Martin. And basically, we are sharing information about natural law, the occult, mystery traditions, and mind control, and anything to do with helping the self realize the self actualization. And you can also find my work. I have another podcast, another video cast that you can find on YouTube called Outcasting. And that is basically a show where I'm just kind of making, I mean, it was kind of an experimental show just to kind of step out of the cubbyhole and work on video, because I hadn't worked on video before. And I wanted to make something short, somewhere between 5 to 20 minutes long. So that way it kind of whets people's appetite to go and search for more truth, more information at the Cubbyhole website and within the Cubbyhole podcast. As far as my journey, I would just say that I've been on this journey for a long time. I always tell people one of the first places that I realized that things were not as they are is when I went to go see if Santa Claus was going to walk through the door, and it was my parents. And then I realized, okay, there's a lie going on here, and I need to question some things. And ever since then, it's really interesting and funny. I have always questioned reality, and I would say I never really took things so serious until maybe 8 years ago, when I came across Mark Passio's work. But before that, I was definitely dabbling in all kinds of things like Eckhart Tolle and Alex Jones and Alan Watts, and even a little bit of Jordan Maxwell. And so there's a lot of backstory to that, but I could go on and on. But once I realized that this information that I'm going to share tonight regarding natural law, once I realized how important it is for preserving this information for progeny and posterity, I realized, we have to preserve this information. We have to live according to, this law that I'm going to talk about. And we have to fight for our freedom. We have to fight for what is true and what is right. And I understand that. And that's what I'm hoping to convey. But one of the things that I want to bring up, I just remembered, is that when I was, I guess 25, I was, really getting into caricatures. I'm also a caricature artist, and I got into that world, and I got very popular in that world. It's a lot bigger of a world than you think, and the people within that community were, they're very, very creative, and it's really cool to get around creative people. But what I realized was that if I want to see there be a world where we can make whatever kind of art we want to make and express ourselves, we're going to have to fight for the freedom to be able to do that. Because in some countries you can't do certain art, without some kind of ridicule or punishment or some kind of death penalty, or I don't know. I mean, there's so many places out there, because you have to understand, one of the reasons why we can express ourselves here in America is because we have the First Amendment, right? Now, obviously, we have that. All of us in the whole world have that right, no matter what amendment or whatever piece of paper or bill. But the point is that this First Amendment that we have in this country is preserved. It's to preserve our rights, so that way we don't forget them. And I think we are definitely collectively forgetting that, and that's why we have to fight for that freedom. We have to, fight to keep it there, because if I want to continue to be an artist, or anyone else that I've done art with who wants to continue to be an artist, you're going to have to fight for that freedom. And I don't mean to carry that, or go on and on with that, but I just wanted to state that, because that was one of the things that I noticed. I remember kind of waking up to that and thinking, well, I really love doing this. I love expressing myself. I love creating art, and I love making fun of people with caricatures. So because it makes them laugh, it brings them joy, it brings me joy, and it's a really awesome creative way of interacting with people. And I want to see that be something that continues, and not be a problem in the future. So, but yeah, that's I once I got into natural law, I really started to understand how vital it was, and I did tons of studying, and I started to put my I started to take in the information, process the information, do really thorough, eclectic work, and then start to put it out, start to put it into rhetoric, and so that way people can hear it. And I hope that it resonates with you. Today, I'm going to do my best to say just a little bit of that information, but that little bit is what I believe is some of the most important knowledge that anybody could ever take into themselves and understand and live by. So,
Oh, sure. I can before we're starting, and I think the best way to show to people it's by experience. I mean, natural law has been a big turning point in my life, in the means that Mark Bassio's work saved my life, saved my soul, saved my mind, and the thing that brought me back was natural law. And it's when you're natural law are tools for bringing back your power, because it's a meta thing there. It you can observe it, but you have to be very attentive. You have to be really looking. The By example, I don't want to step over your work that you're gonna bring up, but I think when you understand these principles and really understand them, and you take time to um, meditate upon it and contemplate over them, and try and you start to see the patterns emerging from these because essentially the thing that people are mixing up is they think this is a dogmatic doctrine, but essentially it's natural law is a form of science. It's just because it has been occulted from everybody, mostly nowadays. If you want to know hermetic principles, you go on your phone, you go on your computer, and you type on hermetic principles and natural law, and there's plenty of stuff out there. Ignorance is not a justification for not looking into it, because this is life changing stuff. you know it's not about your own individual life. Yes, it does change your individual life, but if people take in the natural law, if a critical mass of people take in natural law, it would change the phase, the paradigm that we're living in. This is how powerful it is, natural law, when you really understand them. And sure, people will say their beliefs, their doctrines. Sure, their doctrines, but we're not calling them hermetic principles for nothing. Principles are rooted into our reality. This is things that you can observe in your life. You know, so I'm not gonna step over your work that you're gonna bring tonight. So please, Nate, if if you will.
You cannot overstep or even say these things enough. Trust
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
I mean, we could say the same thing 50 times and still not say it enough. Um, but yes, I completely agree. This is dealing with the occult, which is the hidden. It's the unseen forces in nature. And if we're going to, really take our lives serious and really want to understand why things are the way they are, then we're going to have to look at this truth. We're going to have to look at what we can't see in reality. We can't see gravity, right? But where we have
Sure,
to obey it. We have to obey this law. So, did you want me to go ahead and get started
sure,
on this
sure.
presentation? Okay, cool.
Here you go.
So, this presentation that I'm giving tonight, I really appreciate Fred giving me this opportunity to get on here and do this because this information, like I said, it's vital. And if we really want to discover this natural law, we're going to have to pay attention. And that's something I'm going to get into here in a minute. Um, so discovering natural law, this is what I believe is the crux of why we go and search all the way and search for truth. Because once we find this, once we discover this law and discover what it truly means, then it gives us purpose to go all the way in search for truth, to go all the way to the light. And that is something that I see in a lot of people who do not understand this law. Some people understand ethics to a degree, but they don't understand it enough. They have not gone far enough in their research, and that is why so many people give up. That's why so many people don't make it. That's why, I like the saying, there are two mistakes that one can make on the path to truth, and that is not starting and not going all the way. And also, I want to say before I go any further, how this is going to work today is Fred is going to ask questions and chime in on every slide if he chooses to. So it's not going to just be me talking. So sorry about that. I didn't mean to go right into the mic like that. Here are the topics that I'm going to cover. We have spiritual investigation, look self-actualizing, and then of course natural law. And we can't understand natural law without understanding a little bit of man's law, okay? Then we're going to get into objective morality, what that means, what the science is behind that, and then I'm going to briefly cover teaching natural law and moral relativism. Okay, so what is natural law and why does it matter? How are we affected by this law, negatively or positively? That's very important. Okay. Now, the biggest question I think should be asked is how do we discover this law? And I'm going to do my best to um, be as simple as possible at explaining how or answering every one of these questions. Okay. And also just keep in mind that the next few slides are not going to necessarily be natural law, but it's about getting to natural law. Okay. So the first thing that we have to have when trying to discover this law is we need spiritual currency. We need to put the time in, to spend time and pay attention to the information. We have to be willing to give up our material currency for a little while. I know that's really hard for a lot of people, where people are only thinking about money and spending money and paying their bills. That's all that's on their mind. But if you really want to know, and I'm assuming anybody who's listening really does want to understand this information, if you made it this far. But I really need your time and attention. This information, more than me, needs your time and attention. Okay. And also, I want to say that anybody who is a natural law teacher, I definitely recommend you stay because you might learn something that you haven't heard before. Okay. Maybe even just the way that I'm teaching or the slides, it can be very inspiring. So, becoming a spiritual investigator. This is about the gift of being able to search out and trace out truth of self. And this is something that a lot of people really have not tapped into. And the reason that is because most human beings have had dominator or ruler or master created installments or programs or systems that have been inserted into their minds, into our minds collectively since birth, which, makes most of us believe that only certain chosen authority figures have the right to be detectives or investigators. Okay?
Can I chime in for a second?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
if you want to come back to your slide about currency, um, I think this part
Oh,
is
yeah, for sure.
needs to be extended a little bit in the sense that uh, the only currency that you have as a human is time. Okay, this is where you choose to put your time, your attention to. So some people will like video games, you know, people like movies, and some people like to have a walk in nature. There's plenty of entertainment and beautiful and empowering things that you can do in the world and spend your time in. But essentially, the thing with natural law is that you're gonna have to sacrifice these things. And when I'm talking about sacrifice, I'm not talking about giving, your health, you know, or like me, I have a family. I don't have the luxury of letting them down. I need to take care of my children. I need to be there, and some of us are still have to work to be able to live, or survive, depends on where you are. But essentially, your attention, the energy flow where your attention goes. So the thing is, I just want to bring this a little bit because, um just by example, this podcast and your podcast, Nate, this is time, this is sacrifices that we're making, you know I and these kind of sacrifice, when you really dive in, you're doing it with pleasure, you're doing it with pride, you're doing it with accomplishment. You know that you're gonna grow from it. you know you know that all these beautiful people who are there right now, they're commenting, they're gonna have so much from this. And this is what we want. I'm not asking money, you know and I'm sure Nate doesn't ask money for his work. So essentially, you're gonna have to sacrifice a little bit of your time, a little bit of um entertainment, or or selfish um or selfish means. So I'm a little bit inspired by Mark's work in that way, because he has this beautiful way to say it. You know, it's not easy. You're gonna make mistakes. It's not it's you're nobody's perfect. You know, so essentially you have to put time in it. It's like you're putting your time into natural law. You're putting time into yourself, and you're putting time around you for the people who share your life. That's it.
Absolutely. Very well said. Yeah, it's just, making sure that we are finding or making time to give to the self, to give to this amazing life, to the creation, and that's something that a lot of people have not discovered yet, that they are living within a creation. And giving time to understanding what that means, giving time to understanding who you truly are, is about appreciation to the creation. And so this, spending time right now listening to this is the spiritual currency. You are finding a way to unfold your soul, to reveal your soul, because you're starting to become more conscious as you listen. So
Abs- Absolutely. There maybe, I think there's something that I wanted to touch in your next one. Can you bring it up?
yep.
Um. So I mean, I think it's we went through that. So um. So yes, I mean, the human predators. You know, these people don't want you to get enlightened. They don't want you to. They don't want you to do the spiritual work. They don't want you to get into that. They would lose everything, because this is all about consent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
I mean, so when it comes to having this, belief that only certain chosen authority figures have the right to be detectives or investigators, this is the materialistic mindset that many people are holding within themselves, even willfully, just to. Sorry, I'm getting a pop up here that's really annoying. Hopefully, it doesn't do anything to the show. I'm really sorry if it does.
No
Um, but
problem.
but this is all about keeping people from self-actualizing.
There's a little bit of lagging there. But let me bring up this one there. Oh, I'm not. We're not there. Are you there, Nate? Can you hear me? So we have a little problem with the connection there. So there's a component and into um these authority figures that we need to um that we need to clarify there. Okay, until you're not shackled into chains, or you're not in prison, you still have the freedom to take in and take the time to get into the inner work, because essentially natural law are component of the external world. I mean, the macrocosm. The macrocosm is the bigger things, the patterns, and we can get into fractals and things like that. But it's not about that. It's more about um, um, the exteriorization of behavior, and it's applicating, and you can do it with your inner self. So I don't know if Nate is gonna come back. Maybe he tried to restart his stuff, but I'm gonna keep on. So this component of natural law is essentially to achieve equilibrium in your life. It means that you need to balance some part of your some part of your psychology, and some part of your body, because there's in the natural law, there's ones that it's called correspondence. And actually correspondence means that he's back. Here we go.
Sorry, man. I don't know what that was, but this little thing just popped up and said, "You're, I don't,
No problem.
force quit."
So I was telling that to people that there was a principle that would call the principle of correspondence, that there's the macrocosm and the microcosm, and natural law is bringing all of this together and shows you the thing, and tells you how and what to look for, achieve this equilibrium in your life. Because essentially life is about balance. Natural law is about balance. When you get into these things, you're gonna encounter, when you look into your own patterns, when you're looking into your own psyche, when you're looking into your own behaviors and all these subtleties that you need to look, there's natural will essentially give you back your power to balance it. And I mean, I mean, this is so powerful for the people who give time into it. And this is what we're talking about, because before we had this little thing there. But it happens, we have to keep on and go back to it, and then nothing is perfect, and we're here to grow. We're here to uh to see and look for each others into this work. So essentially, um the LIBERcast was born from the effort and the understanding from natural law, essentially. So Nate, you back, man?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
But here I am, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. And if it does, I really apologize. I don't know what's going on, but
It's okay. No, you don't need to apologize. No problem. It's okay.
the What I wanted to talk about here, becoming the spiritual detective and investigator, people, humans, have spiritual tools that they can discover within themselves. And this is what this is. This is part of understanding what it means to be spiritual, because once we discover these tools, then we can start to understand ourselves and heal ourselves and help others heal, because it's about understanding that others are suffering. And as one suffers, all suffer. And that's not a religious statement. It's about understanding that we are all part of each other. There's no separation other than what's up here. Okay. And so we have to understand that. And this, a lot of people don't really understand what a spiritual tool is, but I think a lot of people do understand the tool known as retrospect. So I think that's something that a lot of people can understand. Okay, and this is a spiritual tool because it's about going back and looking at something in the past, to go back in the mind into our history bank, and look at where, maybe we've had trauma, right? And we can go back and heal ourselves, or we can go back and find out that maybe we were wrong about something. That's the beauty of this spiritual tool. Now, there's a lot of other spiritual tools that I'm not going to go over, but it is up to us to discover these tools. And we do talk about this on the Cubbyhole. So definitely tune into that if you want to learn more about that. But these dominator installments of indoctrination programs that most of us get, we don't ever really do any true investigative work to really understand what that means, or that we are under some kind of control. We don't ever take the time to do true detective work on ourselves. And I would think more people would be into that, because it's so fascinating to find out what we are, why we're here, and what this place is that we live in, and how we are allowing others to do what they do in this world, that is totally immoral and wrong. But the point is that I really wanted to deliver here is that this life is a gift, okay? And we should do an extensive investigative work on the self. We should do the true spiritual detective work on the self, because this gift of life comes with a gift giver, other than just, our mom and dad. There really is a divine gift giver, a creator. And that means that the more that we investigate ourselves, the more that we'll have appreciation for this life that we were gifted. And I think that is very, very crucial to understand. So, if you're not familiar with Alejandro Jodorowsky, he is the creator and director of the movie Holy Mountain, which I highly recommend anybody who wants to understand a allegory about the hero myth. It's phenomenal, very hard to watch, but also it's a very beautiful movie to study. And he made this quote, or he said this quote: "Birds born in a cage think flying is an illness." And then I translated that into, what it means to be an investigator is a person raised with toxic programs of who to be installed into their mind will think self-investigation is an illness. And I'm not saying that they, automatically think that. That's why I put it in quotations. But these programs that are installed into our minds are programs like entertainment. And then we have political programs and porn programs, who to be, right? So if you're watching porn, it's like you're doing this to try to be like one of them, right? Medical programs or school programs, any type of divisive program that fuels us with indoctrination that cuts us off from truth and nature. And many of us also become very abusive within these programs. And, that's why we never really do any true investigative work, because we're stuck. We get stuck in these abusive, perpetual programs. And that is why this investigative work is so important and so powerful, so empowering.
There's the overabundance of cultural indoctrination too. You were naming these things, and we can all put this stuff into culture. The culture is the
Oh,
program
absolutely.
of the civilization, is the program of your, like, some includes nationalism, patriotism, you
Yeah,
know, and these things. And culture is not only about what kind of music that plays in your region. It's not about what movies are in your countries. It's about the religion.
absolutely.
Because this is all about mind control and religionism,
Yeah.
essentially.
Anything to cut us off from source,
Yep.
to keep us in a perpetual state of mind control, because we're easier to be controlled in that state of mind.
It's the overstimulation
Yeah.
to where there's so much stuff that are thrown in your face, in your brain, in your ears, that you cannot concentrate on getting back into your own work, in your inner work, and exploring your own temple and cleaning up. Because this is all about cleaning, essentially.
Yeah, it is. Wiping our mind to wiping the installed program that I was talking about out of our mind. The Dominator installment. It's about reinstalling natural law back into our mind, or nature. So, and you'll I think anybody listening to this all the way through will start to understand what I'm trying to say, or what we're trying to say. So let's get back to natural law. Natural law can and should be discovered by the individual through, and really that's the only way that anybody can really truly understand it. Obviously it's built into us, it's built into the fabric, but becoming aware of it, doing the self-investigation makes us become more aware, which means we become more, we start to observe more. And so once we observe more, then this is part of understanding how to do the thorough research, and then contemplate on what we discover, right? So it's a very, very, I would say it's an arduous task, but it's one of the most important tasks of a human being. If we truly want to see things get better, especially in our surrounding life, in our own personal life. So it is very important to break down the words that we're speaking of. So what is natural and what is law? Well, natural is not caused or created by human agency or by accident. It's not caused by man. It is what is inherently and inseparably existing in nature as a result of natural forces. It's based in reality, it's based in nature, and it is definitely based in truth. Okay? And then uppercase L law is a binding condition, which is permanently set or fixed in the universe, in the fabric of the universe. It's something that can't be undone. It's something that can't be changed. It's immutable. Okay. And
I just want to bring something a little bit, and nature actually is can be compared and is the spirit aspect of God. I'm saying
I
God, but you
agree.
can call it however you want. It's but essentially, um, I love this sentence. Nature is visible spirit, and spirit is invisible nature.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So yes, we have the solution right in our face. Just because we don't have the education, we don't have the information to assimilate and being able to see it. You know,
Right.
because you can only start to see it when you started the path to truth. And for starting the path to truth, you have to care about truth. You have to care about the people around you too.
Yeah. The sentient
And
beings.
yep.
Brandon Martin, he says something I really like, and this kind of fits with a lot of things. And in reality, is you can't know how to swim until you jump in and start doing it. You know, you can't understand natural law without getting in there and learning this information. And that's the truth. You got to put yourself through this work to really start to see it. And once you do, it is extremely eye-opening. So, what is natural law synonymous with? We have the law of karma, which basically is, what goes around comes around. You have the golden rule, which is do to others as you would have done to you, or, don't do to others as you wouldn't want done to you. There's the law of one, there's universal law, there's cause and effect. Every cause follows with an effect, and every effect first had to come with a cause, right? And then there's the law of vibration. So basically, this is the idea that everything in the universe is in motion, nothing is at rest. And when we think about this law of vibration, you can really apply it to everything in here. Like when you think of karma. So, law of vibration would be the energy that we emit is also the energy that we receive, whether that be positive or negative, right? So, when you look at karma, you can fit the law of vibration into karma. You can say what energy goes around is that energy is going to come back around, right? With the golden rule, the energy that you do to others is the energy that you will have done unto you, right? The vibration that you do to others is the vibration that you'll have come back to you. So once we start to really study these other conditions, such as what we see here, we'll start to understand natural law better. And the more that we understand natural law, the more we'll be able to understand these other conditions in the universe. So this is I would say probably half the list of the laws that are synonymous with natural law.
Yeah, there's God's law too. It's not
God's
there, but
law.
it's there.
um and people have that problem with that word, and it's too bad. That it just means that they haven't developed into an adult to be able to hear what that truly means, because they haven't done enough work. Most people associate God with an institutionalized religion like Christianity, and because of that, it taints it. And I understand why, but we have to get past that. We have to get past um, that wall and really listen to what's being said, because like I keep saying, it's an empowering thing when we take in this information and really see it for what it is. So natural law is how and why we learn moral lessons in life. And this can be looked at as a statement or a question, because, how do we learn moral lessons in life? That's the question I think people really need to ask themselves. Or why do we learn moral lessons in life? It's because it's about understanding that there are consequences for our behavior. Well, where does that come from? Why is it that when you cause harm, or that anyone causes harm, that there are consequences, whether it could be right away or it could be over time? We have to ask that. We have to ask, well, what is that? And I would say it's an intelligent measurement of the universe. The universe is intelligently measuring every move that we make. So any energy that we are allowing to manifest outwardly, that is being intelligently measured and then brought back onto us, and not just individually, but collectively. So
So there's the morality is, it's there. It brings more order. If it's the lack of morality, it brings more chaos.
right, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me
Sure.
this thing is I have to always like double click for it to move. Okay, so this is a very important slide. Okay, so we have natural law, because the universe is always talking to you. Yes, absolutely it is. So we have that's my girlfriend, by the way. Hi, Cindy. So we have natural law and we have man's law. So natural law is the uppercase L law. Why? Because it is the law that man did not create. Okay. And then we have man's law, lowercase L law, which is made from man's little ego or big ego, right? But it's the little law because it is a law that was not created by nature. It was created by man. Okay. So that's why we have to understand, differentiate between the L's. Okay. So universal or natural law is unwavering. It can't be undone. It cannot be changed. It is universal, non-man-made, existing, immutable conditions that govern human consequences in nature. It is a discoverable science, and all beings with the capacity to know right from wrong are bound to this law, which means you are bound to this law, I'm bound to this law, and any human being that has a neocortex is bound to this law, because we all have the ability to understand this information. All of us. So no belief is required for this law to operate. And that is very, very important to understand. Okay. So just like the law of gravity, if you drive off a cliff with your car, which I don't recommend, and you say, I don't believe in gravity, well, it doesn't matter. You're still going to fall to the 1,000-foot drop off and hit the bottom of the canyon and become a mangled mess and hope that you didn't live. So it does not require belief. And that is a big difference between natural law and man's law. So man's law is always wavering. It is always arbitrary. It's always changing. And if you think about, all the different countries in this world, or the different states, right? all different states, all different countries have different laws from one another, right? So this is how arbitrary our laws are. Man's laws are. Is you can go in one state and have a big bag of a special green leaf plant with flower buds, and be arrested, and if you resist arrest because you don't want to go to prison, you could be killed, you could be murdered, right? But then you go across the border into the other state, and it's not legal, or it's legal, right? And you're able to have that same bag of green leaf plants with flower buds, and no one's going to mess with you. That's how ridiculous and arbitrary man's law is. Okay. It is the rules, it is the lowercase l laws created and prescribed by man, who is, role playing, with this fantasy as authority through fear-based control, keeping the minds of the masses in a extreme perpetual state of duress, meaning, keeping us under the threat of violence if we don't comply with their, little L laws, their rules, right? And these man-made fear-based laws and the belief in them are what generate government, which is the enforcement of the inverted and degenerated material-based version of natural law. Okay, so man's law is an inversion of natural law. And what that means is man is playing God, because man has taken the natural law and perverted it and inverted it to push it on to others through fear-based mind control. And it is the belief that we have in this system, in this government, that keeps it afloat through fear. And that's what we have to understand. We have to be able to differentiate between this little law that is raised or grown through man's ego, because it's a control system, versus natural law, which does not require belief. So we have to understand, we have to be able to see the difference between the two. And that is very, very crucial. Okay. And there's a lot more to it, believe me.
I just want to say something. Um, I suggest everyone to go see the book "The End of All Evil" from Jeremy Locke. He gives a very good explanation about men's laws. So I encourage everybody to go to listen to that. And by the way, I have it's inverted now, but this is the French translation of
Oh,
"The
that's
End of
awesome.
All Evil," and this one is going for a listener. Uh, I made this little uh, event that I'm giving it. This is how serious it is. This is how valuable it is. I'm giving it to people who answer a little simple question. So I just wanted to bring it.
Man, that book is so hard to find.
Well,
Um,
the English version is impossible to find, and if you find it, it's gonna be fucking expensive as
yeah,
hell.
in the thousands for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's well. If you have the PDF, then you have the knowledge, and that's all that matters. Um, yeah, that book is gold. I have not read it all the way through, but I have read parts of it, and yes, I would have to agree. Um, so let's look at the transgressions of natural law And this is very, very, very important to pay very close attention to, because there are wrongdoings that human beings can do, that can partake in, that will cause disharmony with natural law. So first, we have murder, rape, assault, stealing, trespassing, coercion, and willfully lying. And these are 7 transgressions, 7 wrongdoings. So we have murder, which is to violently take the life of another. So, when I'm talking about is, the premeditated, then acted upon behavior to take someone else's life without any kind of rightful reason, without just cause. And then there's rape. And rape is about violently relinquishing the sexual consent of another. So basically to violently take away someone's choice during a sexual encounter. And something I want to talk about rape, Fred. I don't know how much you've run into this, but anytime that I talk to someone about morality, I ask them what they think about rape. I ask them, is rape a wrongdoing? Is it wrong to rape someone? And everybody says that it is wrong to rape. So then right away I ask, okay, well, if it's wrong to rape, does that mean that wrong is objectively wrong? And almost every single person says there's no such thing as objective wrong. And they also say that wrongdoing is subjective because it's something we agree upon collectively. And so then by that logic, I always say, okay, well, if it's something we agree upon, then by your logic, that means that if we agree that a grown man can rape a young child, then it's okay. It's good. It's fine.
It's called moral relativism, and it's fucking
Absolutely.
rampant everywhere.
Yeah, it's an illness. It's a
Yep.
disease.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is. Go ahead.
Rape is actually theft of consent. Actually,
Yeah, absolutely.
rape can, it's not necessarily a physical sexual thing, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not true love sex, that's for sure.
You can be psychically raped too.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's disgusting. It's
Yep.
deplorable. So then there is assault. So assault is a violent attack that takes away the physical well-being of another. So basically a physical violation or initiation of violence onto another person. Okay. And then there's stealing. Stealing, everybody understands stealing. Stealing is stealing the property of another person. Stealing is, taking something that from someone who has ownership over that property. And then there's trespassing. Trespassing is the violating. It's about violating, or the act of violating, the security and privacy of another. Crossing over invited on someone else's property. And then here is what I think a lot of people have a very tough time understanding, which is coercion. And this is, and I kind of already talked about this earlier. Coercion is threatening someone else's choice through violence if they don't comply. Okay, if they don't comply with what the person is telling them to do. And this is so misunderstood, because people only choose what they want to believe when it comes to coercion. Because when it comes to a robber who, breaks into your home and, tells you to do something with the threat of violence, and if you don't comply, you will be killed, you will be tortured or whatever. People will say that's wrong. But when it comes to law enforcement, it's the total opposite. It is like people will switch right away to try to justify why law enforcement is allowed to do that and why that's okay. And that is just crap that people think that way. It's so backwards. It's so inverted. And, this is why the belief in authority is so dangerous. And then there is willfully lying. And willfully lying is about taking another's ability to consciously make an informed decision. So willfully withholding correct information, or, making something up, and being fallacious, and, keeping knowledge of truth from someone, and that leads to harm. It's all about deception. So all of these 7 wrongdoings, all these transgressions, are all forms of theft. It's about taking that which does not belong to you. Okay, so this is very, 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 very important information. And if anybody's watching this on their computer or on their phone, you should definitely screen capture this, so that way you can study this type of information, because this is this is like a foundation. This is something you can work from. So, natural law is a science of right and wrong. It's a science of morality. And here is another graph that I would, study really hard. Is we have objective morality. So what is a right and what is a wrong objectively? So a right is correct. It is based in truth. A right is moral, and it is aligned with natural law. A right is any action, any behavior that does not initiate violence or cause harm unto other sentient beings. And sentient just means, able to feel or perceive. Okay. And then you have a wrong. What is a wrong? A wrongdoing. A wrongdoing is incorrect, and it is not based in truth. A wrongdoing is immoral, and it is not aligned with natural law. It doesn't harmonize with natural law. And a wrongdoing is any action that does initiate violence or cause harm unto other sentient beings. So, moral lessons wouldn't exist if objective morality did not exist. So we really have to understand this. We have to really think about this. We have to really do the research to understand why that is. Okay, so any type of lessons that we've learned where it has to do with harming others and we get consequences for it, there's a reason for that, because objective morality exists. So we really have to deeply understand that. We have to do the homework and really deeply contemplate on that and understand that. So natural law, or, under natural law, good is to be done and it is to be pursued. And evil or wrongdoing is to be resisted and thwarted. So good is to be done because it's about doing good to align to natural law. And it's to be pursued because it's about understanding that natural law is an unfoldment, and we have to continue the work to do what's right. And evil or wrongdoing being resisted is, you can look at that two ways. So, resist it within, with your own actions, resist the evil within, resist the wrongdoing, resist doing wrongdoing. And also, natural law is, one of the principles of natural law is self-defense. So defend yourself, resist any type of wrongdoing or evil in this world. Stop it, thwart it from happening.
So, I mean, these slides are awesome, by the way, Nate. They're
Thank
really
you.
straight to the point. And I would add to that that good has to be fought for to preserve, and evil must be fought against with
Absolutely.
everything we have, with your voice, with the amount of force that it needed to be stopped.
100%. And that's why this information is so important, because once we take it in, we start to take our sovereignty back. We start to realize that we're truly sovereign beings in this world. So, how do we know what a right is? We already know what the 7 wrongdoings are, but how do we really truly know what a right is in nature? And one of the ways we can understand this is through the apophatic method. And the word apo comes from the Greek, meaning away from or off, and then phanai, meaning to speak. So to be able to speak away from or to speak off, which means the affirmation through negation. An affirmation is the action of affirming something, and negation is about the opposite of something actual or positive. So the apophatic method is used to learn what the negative is in order to understand the positive. And I'm going to explain this through this graph that I created. So this is about understanding natural law through the apophatic method. So if you see here the circle, the blue, or the almost blue circle, is akin to the nearly infinite rights in the universe. Okay, this is synonymous with the infinite rights of the universe. And then you have the little red pie piece being the 7 wrongdoings, which is what we already went through. Okay, so these 7 wrongdoings are forms of disharmony. They are behaviors that cause harm. Okay, so there are only 7 wrongdoings out of all human behaviors under natural law. Okay, so harmonizing with natural law is behaviors that do cause or that do not cause harm. So that's the blue part. So think about all the behaviors that you could possibly do. I mean, you can do anything. I mean, you just think about any kind of action that you could possibly take in this universe, on this earth. And you can do that because it harmonizes. But the moment that you do any of those 7 wrongdoings, you are causing disharmony. And that's the truth. That's how natural law works. So this is all about learning what rights are by learning what wrongdoings are.
Your right actually stop where you take someone else's. Actually,
Absolutely. 100%. So I just wanted to switch gears just a tiny bit. It's not really too much, but we hear about this man's law, great reset that's taken place. Well, the true great reset is the realignment to nature through natural law. So there is a great opposition to this great evil that is amongst us. And that is taking in this information and starting to take responsibility for our actions and making the change that we wish to see in this world. If we really want to see things get better, we're going to have to take in this type of information and labor for it very hard, because we're at war and we have to understand that. And, I don't want to have to be the one that tells people that, but also I have to, I'm charged to tell people this because I understand this information. I recognize that if we don't reset ourselves back into nature, and that doesn't mean, go live like a caveman. It doesn't mean, go live like people did back in the, 1400s. It means we have to reset natural law back into our hearts and minds. And we have to align to this so that way we start to make bigger and better changes that with a positive outcome,
So can I stuff you for a minute? I just want to bring a little something up because we talk about natural law, but I would like to bring up the expression of natural law in the sense of there's seven main natural law. I just want to bring that because I didn't see it on your slides, but I'm gonna just bring it there for the
that's
people
fine.
to see.
Yeah, I was going to
So
get into that kind of. That's all right.
okay,
No, 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 no. Let's
sorry
let's
about
do it
that.
here. Let's do it here because I was just only going to mention it.
Okay, so this is actually I'm using Mark Passio's work slides because I mean this is the work of the works. This is the great work, and uh, just can we just like go through them quickly so we can explain a little bit, and then we can continue your presentation
For
afterward.
sure, for sure.
Okay. So there's the principle of mentalism is actually saying that the all is mind. Everything comes from the thought. Means that you want a quick example. It's the inventor. The inventor will create in his mind before making it for real in the material world. This is a I mean, it's a quick explanation, but it's pretty much it. And it means too that there's no separation at the same time. There's no separation between the stars and us and the animals and the plants and all the natural aspect of our world. You want to go with correspondence, Nate?
Yeah, the principle of correspondence, I think, is the one of the most beautiful, powerful keys amongst all these. Now, I'm not saying it's more powerful than any of these because they're all equally important. But the principle of correspondence states that as above is likened, or that which is above is likened to that which is below, and that which is below is likened to that which is above. So, one of the things that I think is so fascinating is, when you look at like a snail with like the curve, like the spiral of a snail, that corresponds to a calic on the head or a hurricane or a tornado. That's a very simple way of understanding the principle of correspondence. But it also has to do with the understanding that there are unseen forces in nature that we cannot really totally, I mean, we definitely can't see them, but we can understand them through this principle. And so, when we, especially, natural law, because it's about understanding that there is a way that natural law works that we can see an action happen, yes, but how that goes around and comes around, we're not going to understand. We're not going to totally get to see that play out. But I'm not really totally explaining correspondence with that well. But the point is that once we see how like when you think about the brain, how it is the like when they light up the neuro pathways of the brain, it's very similar to a lot of the pictures that we've seen of the universe. It has a very similar look, and that's because the universe is always finding a way to mirror things. So the principle of correspondence is a spiritual mirror, right? So if we can learn how this spiritual mirror works, then we can see a world that is unseen. And once we see this unseen world, we start to open up a whole, beautiful side of life that just isn't understood through a materialistic mind.
So there's after that there's a principle of vibration, but most people who's gonna stumble upon this podcast know how vibration is everywhere. Vibration is everything. We are all our organs are vibrating. Radiations are vibrations. Um, when you touch the water with your finger, there's a circle that expand from it. That's vibration, you know. And the hertz when you're listening to music, there's a tonalities. Tonalities are vibrations. How you hear in your here is vibrations. It's a your here is receiving the vibration and translating it and sending it to your brain. So this is a quick explanation of it. And then afterward there's polarity. Can you explain it for quickly for people?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about vibration. It's very
Yep.
interesting. Like when you think about, like if somebody was playing a violin and one of the strings breaks or something, it sends a shock wave through us, right? There is, we feel that and we cringe, or when someone hits the wrong or plays the wrong note or something. There's a reason that we cringe, and it's because it's a vibratory reaction where something is not right, and we cringe at that. We respond in that way. I just think that's really interesting how we respond. But the principle of polarity is about understanding that um, there really isn't it's about understanding degrees, and this is about the idea that if there is hot, the extreme of hot and the extreme of cold, well, you have the extreme of hot being the polarity of the extreme of cold, but there really isn't a difference. It's only in a measure of degrees. So there's really no separation. But polarity is about understanding tall and small, and black and white, or you know wet and dry. So if we can understand that there are degrees in between, then we'll really start to understand the extremes. So that's what polarity can help us understand. Um, so go ahead and go with rhythm.
Rhythm is actually the cyclic aspect of universe. You can see it in uh, the study of history and the history, the history of civilization. And if you are really in touch with your inner, in your temple and inner work, you're gonna see these rhythm. This is the waves and the undertow. There's always this movement all the time, and it's and in the macrocosm and in the microcosm, in your body, in nature. There's rhythm, there's cycles all the time. This is how it is. This is uh to the oh my god, I always forgot this word, but it's impermanence. The you can call it the principle of change too. um I think it's
Right.
in all other things, but it connected together. And then quickly, the principle of cause and effect, you touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
There's you
Causality. For every
Yeah,
cause, there
causality.
follows an effect. And for every effect, there first had to be a cause.
Yes. And the principle of gender, the gender, that means that there's feminine qualities and masculine qualities on every aspect of the universe and life. So that's it for
Yeah, the
nothing.
gender principle. All those principles are so powerful, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we go through. Um, so I wanted to talk about just a little bit, and maybe you can uh, chime in on this, Fred. There's more than one teacher of natural law, okay? But there's still not enough. And this is just a little something I wanted to add in because it's something that I see in the communities, and it's unfortunate, but there are many so-called truthers who negatively focus on other light workers who are teaching the same science and even the same slides of other natural law teachers, you know. And these people, these so-called truthers, go out of their way to childishly ridicule these light workers on social media rather than focus on teaching natural law themselves. And one thing that I'm really the reason that I brought this up is because it is important that people understand that nobody owns any knowledge of natural law or any knowledge at that. Okay. This is very, very important to understand because I think it really limits a lot of people from. Even you just shared a slide from Passio, and that's because it's like we appreciate his work and we appreciate the slide, and it's just really unfortunate that there are people that will go out of their way to make others feel bad, and that doesn't mean don't give credit to any other light workers who have or natural law teachers, like Thomas Aquinas or Mark Passio. These people have really revealed natural law quite a bit, and especially Mark in these times. And he has expressed many times to share this work freely, share these slides, use it in your own presentations. And I say the same thing. And, we have to recognize that we are at war and there's no time for this infighting crap. We have to help each other and use what we can while we can. And, I was even talking to Fred before we got on this presentation on the show. And I was talking about how, when I first started doing presentations, I used a lot of different researchers' slides. None of, well, I used maybe a few of my own, but I used a lot of Mark's too. I used what I could because I wanted to get the message out there, and that's really all that mattered. And I'm pretty sure I gave credit to him, but even if we don't give credit, there just does not need to be this bashing crap, because it's like, there is so much more important ways that we can use our energy. And as it says in the bottom of the slide, become a natural law teacher and stop with the fighting.
And I want to add something because I think you make a good point there. And I just want to emphasize into, if someone's want to be a teacher of spiritual Marxism and axioms like natural law, you have to know your shit before you're doing it.
Yep,
You cannot just fucking learn it by heart without understanding it, you know? And I don't want to take too much time because the presentation is going, but if you're doing that and you're using it for selfish means, you're doing us a great disservice.
absolutely.
Some people will get empowered by natural law, and they will get empowered by the occult knowledge, and they're going to use it for selfish means, money, fame, etc., etc. So I mean, if you're really into natural law, you have to be, you have to kneel before natural law. You have to respect it. You have to treat it as gold, because it is gold. This, even in the alchemical aspect of it.
Absolutely, it is.
So you can continue, Nate. I just wanted to bring that.
So here's some natural law resources. Um, if you're not familiar with Thomas Aquinas, you definitely should familiarize yourself with him. Um, and there's also, you have a really good book called On Law, Morality, and Politics, and definitely a good read, and definitely a good study. And then Richard Witherill, Right is Might. I think that's a fantastic ethics book. And then you have Immanuel Kant, this book right here, The Fundamental Principles of the Metaphysic of Morals. And this man definitely understood natural law, but it is very difficult to read. It's a different type of English, but I highly recommend looking into that. And then, of course, who we've been talking about, Mark Passio, his natural law seminar, which is where I learned most of what I know of natural law. And one thing I want to say about Mark that is so special is that he was what makes his work. It's not necessarily Mark, but what makes his work stand out more than pretty much everybody else's work who has done any work on natural law in the past is that he was able to separate the science of natural law from the institutionalized religions. That's what makes his work so great. And I just wanted to, really emphasize that. And then,
And kudos to Mark Passio, by the way.
yes,
Um, God damn, this magi there. I consider him a magi. Um, and his work is invaluable. When you get into this stuff, if you're able to get through his presentation style, his language, I mean, he's fucking awesome. Thank you, Mark Basio. By the way, you this is the LIBERcast is part of what you created. You helped created. So thank you, brother.
yeah, he's the man. Um, so the Kabbalion is what we just went over with the 7 Hermetic principles. So these are the governing laws of or the governing principles of natural law. This is how we navigate natural law, as with those 7 principles. And obviously, there was one principle that we didn't cover, which was the principle of care, and it's the hidden principle, or the the forgotten principle. Even this principle is the principle that combines or encompasses all 7 Hermetic principles. So there's a big study for you right there if you're not familiar with that one. So
The Kybalion requires multiple reading, by the way.
yes, yeah, it is. It's not something you read from cover to cover. It's something you study for the rest of your life, and you can see how it applies to everything. It's such a small book too. Well, at least the copy I have is. Um, so I wanted to talk about conformity and morality. So conformity is about doing what everyone else is doing, regardless of whether it is wrong. And this is a very, very easy way to get through life. This is about conforming to man's law. This is about doing whatever it takes to go along, to get along, just going with the flow. And it takes no work, any true work, to conform, or to be part of a hive mind, or a negative hive mind. And then, what would be the answer to that? Well, it'd be morality, because it's about doing what is right, doing what is absolutely right, regardless of what everyone else is doing. Okay, because this is about understanding that right. This is about understanding objective right, and doing the right thing, not because you think it's the right thing. You're doing the right thing because you know it's the right thing to do. Okay, and that's something we just learned. Well, what is a right? It's an action, a behavior that does not cause harm to other sentient beings. But with conformity, this is what creates moral relativists, people who think that morality is subjective, and as long as everybody else is doing it, I'll do it too. Even if it does cause harm to someone else. So if we have that mindset of conformity, we're going in the wrong direction. We're disharmonizing with natural law.
It's not
And
because 1 million people are doing something wrong that you have to do something wrong. You have to follow them. And this is what conformity is all about.
yeah, it's we've seen plenty of conformity in the past few years. It's man.
Do you know this story? Uh, by Piper, I think. This flute player who's bringing the little children on the edge of the ravine.
Um,
This
I've
is
heard of
a
it.
story. This is a metaphor um, um, for conformity and the sheep mentality, the horde mentality. You know, you have this this character who's playing flute, and he's bringing the children on the edge of the cliff, and the children they don't know, and they're following the flute, and they're
Mm,
dancing, and they're totally innocent, but they don't know that they're about to drop.
yeah, I have heard of that actually. Yeah, that's exactly it. You nailed it. I just saw somebody from Facebook said that's the real confusion of our society now, between legality and morality. Yeah,
Yeah.
conformity is part of believing in the legitimacy of legalities. Um, that is very true.
And and in the book that I talked about earlier, he says, Jeremy Locke says, men's laws are lies to take your freedom from you.
100%. Yep. That is very true. And, that's moral relativism, which is this slide,
Yep.
This is the dangerous, very dangerous, and dogmatic belief that objective morality does not exist. And this is part of believing, moral relativism. You might as well just say that people who buy into this are people who are okay with a grown man, uh, raping a young child. That's what they really are saying. To put it as harsh as possible, that is what they're saying. And this ideology, this belief system is what leads to so much destruction in this world, which leads to suffering and slavery. Hedonism, yes, 100% hedonism. Hedonism is very, very destructive. Everybody just wants to have fun. Ignore the negative. That's part of the New Age movement. The hedonism movement.
Yeah, and you were talking about this and talking. I was asking this question for to a few people. I was asking them, do you think there's good and good and bad? Do you believe in and good and evil? And most people don't. They would say right in my face, no, there's not. And I was fucking angry, man. I was telling you, okay, so if truth doesn't exist, if evil and good doesn't exist, means that I can go in your house, steal your stuff, beat you up in your own house, and it's okay. It's okay. So you're justifying, not you, Nate, or the people who listen to it, but these people are justifying the use of violence and the absurd ignorance that we're we're like fucking we're swimming into this brain dead critical mass that are bringing us, like I was telling before to the people, this flute player who are bringing the people, these children, to the edge of the cliff. I mean, they're adults. They're grown ass people who are telling me that truth doesn't exist. So I want to bring something because Brendan uh, said that in the podcast that we did. So if truth doesn't exist, if you're telling me that truth doesn't exist, is it true, or you're lying to me?
Right.
Is it that simple to debunk this? You know,
Yep.
it's crazy. It's
Yeah, they're
crazy thinking.
right. They're the same people that say there's no such thing as knowledge. or no, not knowledge. There's no such thing as knowing. Sorry. There's no such thing as knowing. Well, how do you know that? Right? Yeah, it's the same backwards thinking that people have. And this doesn't it, I mean, it's really not thinking at all. It's very like extremely small thinking. There's hardly any thinking at all. There's no contemplation. There's no real um, you know meditating on any of these ideas. It's just, I'm going to say what, the first thing that comes to my head, and make my opinion worth knowledge. That's how people think. That their opinion is worth more than the knowledge of, more. It's funny because a lot of people who are very opinionated seem to be all about trust the science kind of people, you know. And it's funny because when you understand that science means having knowledge, then it's like, okay, well, if you don't have knowledge, how can you even want to trust any type of science if you haven't even looked into it? It just doesn't make any sense. How people are just very spiritually bereft. They're very illiterate in so many ways because people choose to be this way. And
You're too polite, man. You're too polite. Just tell it how it is. People are fucking spiritually dead inside.
yeah,
Okay, some of them just fucking told, "Oh, I'm just gonna. It's gonna be me, me, me. All about me. All solipsism. Solipsism is a good example of moral relativism, and these people are fucking dangerous.
yeah, yeah, because their belief, especially in a world of mob rule, it makes it very difficult to avoid people with their opinions as something that can manifest as violent over us, over the people that are principled, the people who do care. We have to deal with people who don't care, the people who don't care about this knowledge because they're too busy being hedonists. They're too busy having fun because that's all that matters. As long as their bills are paid and they got some money to spend on some, entertainment or drugs or whatever, that's all that matters to them. They don't have the value system. They don't have the principles. They don't even want to investigate what that means. They don't want to investigate the gift because, like I said earlier, it's about avoiding this inner detective, this inner investigator that we all are gifted with. This is part of our being, and we're ignoring it because we're ignorant, most of us. Not you guys that are, listening, or you, Fred, but all, the majority of the people
Yep.
seem to be in this mindset, and it's devastating. But that's why we're doing this work. The great work is trying to reach, what you would call the sleepers, the walking sleepers, or something like that.
The sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers, yeah,
Yes.
same thing. Yeah, it's we have to try to ignite that Kundalini energy to wake up in people, to get with it. And I've thankfully seen some people start to merge out of their shell, and I'm very thankful for that because, man, without that, it just makes hope seem hopeless. And so, moral relativism definitely should be investigated. People really need to look into this if you truly care, if you really want to see things get better in this world. It is about changing who you are within yourself, and then you will see the world change because you're part of it. I'm part of it, you're part of it. We're all individually part of this world, of this universe. And as we change, that is interjecting that good positive energy into the aggregate of consciousness. It is, as more people start to become conscious, the more the world becomes conscious. And that's how it works. But also at the same time, the more conscious we become of the world and people, the more we see how deadened people are inside. And it's a big it's
Yeah.
an ugly
It's
thing to see.
pathetic.
Yeah,
It's pathetic.
yeah, it is. I think I have one more slide here. Yeah, so Natural law is the science, the science of natural law is a constant unfoldment of morality for the evolution of the human species. And aligning to this law generates freedom, which is the opposite of the last slide, which is moral relativism, which generates slavery and suffering.
And
So,
it, I mean, even the dark occultists know that. They know that,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely,
and
they
they're
do.
using it against us. You know, this is why we have Buddhism around, salvationist religions, that these people actually think that God decide everything in advance,
Right.
that we have no control over our lives, no control about our destinies. I mean, I don't believe in destiny, but some people do, you know. I think we're I think if you take the work, you're going to take back the power, your inner power, and nobody can take it away from you ever, because it's not, you cannot touch it, you cannot smell it. It resides into the voice, it resides into consciousness. And this is, natural law is simply a a basis for moral behavior. Even even if people, like you brought out before, gravity, even if you don't believe in it, okay, even if you're a flat earther and you think that everything is magnetic, if you jump from a cliff, you're gonna fucking die or hurt yourself seriously. Doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. It's not about belief. Belief builds prison wall around you. Natural law is about knowledge. It's about knowing. It's not belief. And until people get these rhetorics and get these axioms and these maxims, we're going to continue to have what we have now: debauchery, confusion, slavery, chaos. This is what we have. This is what people thrive for. Because you told us earlier, Nate, what are people thriving for? Pleasure, selfish means, even the spiritual movement,
Yep.
even in the spiritual movement, you have all these people like roaming around telling us that we need to go into 5D. I don't give a fuck about 5D. I'm in the 3D world. I'm in the spiritual world all the time. There's no separation between spiritual world and physical world.
Absolutely.
You don't have to meditate during like 12 hours a day to go into the spiritual world. You're already in it.
You just
It's
have to
not because you
unveil it.
can it's not because you can see it, you can smell it, you can touch it, that it doesn't exist. Red what infrared, ultraviolet. You cannot see it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Love. Even now we have the people discussing this. What is love? Can you like quickly go, Nate, and explain what love is?
Love, the way I understand it, is the laboring for understanding the world that we live in and the self, because this is about consciousness. So, as we understand ourselves, we can understand the world, we can understand each other. And the more that we unveil about ourselves, the more that we recognize that we are not here to be ruled by man, because we're doing the work. We're doing the internal work to understand sovereignty, which means not a slave. That is a labor of love, and we will start to see, we will start to feel love for the self when we become more conscious of the self, when we start to become more health conscious, when we start to become more mind conscious, when we start to become more conscious of the programs that have been installed into our minds. And this is about reconnecting to nature. But, really, what goes beyond love, which is this really the same thing, but it's the highest form of love, is agape. Because once you have taken the time every day, labored every single day, done as much work as you can to understand, take the time out of your day to understand what is truly going on, and you're putting this information back out for others because you recognize the suffering that's taken place in this world. This is a form of agape, and this is, a selfless act. It is about, like you said earlier, sacrifice. Sacrifice is love. And there's other forms of love, but those, when it comes to our sovereignty, those are what really need to be understood. And there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, and I want to add something about this. Love is the expending emotion. Love is everything.
Yeah.
Nature is love. Because if you're if you're in constant fear or stress, you don't have place for love. Because fear will close your mind, close your heart, close your consciousness. I'm not saying that we have to be fearless, because if you're fearless, you're fucking stupid. And but if you understand that love leads to care, and care leads to what we're considering natural law. Care is the binding aspect of natural law. Without care, without attention, nothing of that is possible. Because we can intellectualize and rationalize everything if we want to.
Yeah.
But it's not about intellectualizing things. It's about intuition. It's about it's about growing up in this world where we are into a mass kindergarten, and we have to deal with these grown ass children around. And I was talking about this in the table discussion, and and I understand why the teachers of spirituality and like Marpasio are getting angry, because people don't fucking they don't listen. They can hear it, but they don't listen. If people would really understand what natural law and the occult would bring, the paradigm that we could change, we wouldn't be there talking about this. We would have this utopian world that we want to. We really care about freedom, love, understanding, and compassion and empathy. Because you cannot have that if you don't understand these things. You cannot have that. If your if your parents didn't show you what empathy is, you're not gonna do it. You're gonna turn out a narcissist, you're gonna you're gonna become something that it's not required in this society. We don't need more narcissists. We
You
need
have
more
plenty.
we need more teachers. We need more intelligent people, and not intelligent in the intellectual. We need people with emotional intelligence, because your intelligence is basically it's your compass. If you're not in control of your emotions, then your emotion will control you, and it's a bad thing. You can see it everywhere now. All these 2 years and a half, maybe almost 3 years now, that we have seen this crisis where most of people lost their damn mind, just because of what? Because of words. This sorcery has come from one thing: words. They were spelling fear into people. And this is one of the thing that it's so important that people realize that magic is in spelling. This is not a coincidence that we're using these words right now, because true magic is in spelling things. Now, right now, Nate and me, we're doing magic, but we're not sorcerers. We want the people to get better. We're doing it for the betterment of humanity. As much as I know, nobody proves us wrong for now. Nobody proves Mark Pastio's wrong. Nobody came with a true, authentic argument against natural law, against the occult. You know why? Because the occult is everything. This is what it is: the first natural law, mentalism. Everything comes from the mind. So if you control everybody, if you control the intake of information of everybody, you can do whatever you want with people. Because essentially, like Marpastio said in one of his podcasts, it's like you're there and you're going to play a chess game, and you're playing against someone who is like the is played for years. You're gonna get your ass whooped, essentially, because they know about this. They know about behaviorism. They know that humans are really influencer. They can be very sensible to influence. And yeah, Jean Vincent just made a French. I can tell and translate a little bit. Means the conscious is it peels. I cannot translate because it's a little messy, but essentially, um, it propaganda is essentially bringing more peels on the top of the onion. And consciousness, when you're in true consciousness, you're getting these peels out,
Mm-hmm.
because there's conditioning, there's propaganda, there's cultural indoctrination, and you have the intergenerational mind control too. Your parents will bring you more of mind control, the own their own mind controlled behavior into. So I mean, we're 2 hours in. I was telling you, it's going very fast.
Yeah, it sure
When
did.
we're talking about natural law, man, and the occult, it can go for hours.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could go another 20 hours and still not cover it all.
So
Um,
I'm just gonna. Do you want to add something
well, I just
before
really
we go?
liked what you said about the magic because, yeah, magic is the light it is about being a light bringer. It is about bringing light into the world for the advancement of the human species, for the evolution of the human species. So that means that um, this information can resonate. This is to inspire people. This information is to inspire you to recognize something that has not been talked about or taught in our schools. It is not really talked about anywhere, but it is something that hopefully, I mean, I don't do this to be deceptive, and it's obvious because I'm doing this because I know it is the right thing to do. We are doing this because Fred and I are doing this because it's the right thing to do. Other light workers, other natural law teachers are doing this
Yep.
because it's the right thing to do. And we wouldn't waste our time doing this if it wasn't the right thing to do. We don't actually, I don't make any money. Fred doesn't make any money. Other natural law teachers don't make money doing this. So it's a labor of love. And, there are sorcerers out there, though, who are performing tons of dark magic on us for their own benefit. And I'm really glad that you brought that up because, this is something that people are not aware of because they think that magicians and sorcerers are something only in movies, or magicians are people who pull rabbits out of the hat only. And no, that it goes way beyond that. And people really need to understand this. People really need to uh, go deeper in their work to really understand that words are spells, and they can be spells for good intention, and they can be spells for bad intention, which, anything in this corrupt system that we're in is definitely not for the betterment. It is not to inspire people to do the right thing. And we really need to get that in our heads and take this more serious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And uh, thank you very much, Nate, for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. Um, can you please tell people where they can get your work again?
If you go back to the slide, I'll
Yep.
show that real quick.
Let me do it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Fred. This has been awesome. This went a lot smoother than I intended on my end. I really hate that the little technical issue happened, but that's what happens, and we have to power through that and keep going.
Yep.
So, if you want to find more of my work, you can go to cubbyhole.com. That's CUBBYWHOLE.com. And you can find, if you go there and click on Nate with the word outcasting, you can see all my great work. And also, you can follow me on Telegram under Outcasting with Nate Kap, where I do weekly videos and updates. And yeah, man, that was a great conversation. I'm really glad that you got to go through that with me, and I really love your insight. It's so awesome. Again, what you're doing with your show, Fred. I mean, I'm very, very inspired, and that's something that I want to try to do in the future. Is do these roundtables like you're doing. I think that is something that needs to be done more because even if it's not getting the views that it should be getting, it's definitely allowing us to all talk with one another, to conversate and to learn from each other a lot faster, and really work out ideas that maybe we can't work out on our own. So it really that's what I felt from last week when I did that conversation with you guys. I really felt that some of the things I wasn't totally understanding, I really was like seeing the refinement from the conversation building. And that's such a great thing that you're doing. And having people come on your show and do presentations is so cool too. So thank you
I
again,
mean,
man.
uh, I mean, I told you like earlier before the show that this show is for adults, for grown ass people. You know, there if even if you don't know about these things, it's okay to not knowing something. And I mean, we're doing it because we have to spell it into the world. And even if there's only a handful of people who've seen the show who's gonna see it, doesn't matter because we spelled it into existence.
Yes.
We're seeding this. So, I mean, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having all these beautiful people, these great workers around me, and you are the pillars of the Nevercast. You know, I'm only the I'm only the messenger. I'm putting it up. I'm building the network, and we're having a new projects that are coming up. Um, so stay tuned, people, and I'm having tomorrow. I'm gonna just announce it tomorrow at 9 p.m. I'm having this interview with Paul, who is a survivor of Gen stalking, and then after the 27th, I think, let me verify that I don't want to put people in mistakes. I'm having Dorian Green on the 27th,
Awesome.
Thursday, 20 October 27th. Talking it's going to be a French conversation about natural law and morality, and because I try to cover both language. So and after that, there's the table discussion that happen every week or almost every week, and it's always awesome. The table discussion we're having, sharing wisdom, sharing knowledge together, and like you say, Nate, I'm listening and I'm learning all the time. I'm learning all the time to listen to you guys. Nate, you said you got inspired by me, but it's the same for me. I'm getting inspired by you all, the great workers around. So thank you very much, everyone. And we're 2 hours and 10 minutes and 11 minutes, so it's going very fast. And I mean, I have to go to bed, and I have this. My great work is waiting for me tomorrow. Tomorrow in the morning, my children, they are my great work. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you again, Nate, and we're gonna see you in the next one. Have a good night.
Thanks, Fred.